Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the live stream. Just going to get this all pulled up so I can hang out with you in the comments. Here we go. All right. Looking good. How is everyone doing today? How are we feeling? Hello, Hade. So happy that you're here. I am excited to be here with you as well. I have something really yummy and juicy and exciting to talk about today because there's a consistent theme that I see in people who have purpose-based and like soul-based businesses where it's really easy to get tripped up and your business starts to hold you back in certain ways. And so if you are coming on live, definitely say hello. Let me know you're here so we can hang out. And if you are coming on in the replay, let me know that you came back and watched because I still want to say hi to you. Oh my God, Leah Ardent. Yes, I am singing to myself. That is what we do here when I am live. I just sing song to myself all of the time. It's one of my favorite things to do. All right. So many of us in this industry start our businesses because we go through an experience. We go through a shift. We go through an awakening. We find our path from pain into purpose. And then we're like, oh, I did this. And now I want to help other people do this. Hello, Lauren, right? That's how we get here, is because like we overcame, we moved through, we got to the other side, we made it through the desert to the promised land. And now we want to reach our hand back and we want to help people move through the shifts and through the deserts that we did so that they can see what we can now see, so they can be what we now have been able to become. Right. And this is so common for like the spiritual or purpose-based entrepreneur, is that our purpose in our business is to essentially help old versions of ourselves. And this is beautiful. And I love this for us. And I love the generosity of women. And I love the wisdom that we as women are just so inherently like ingrained into. It's just such a natural, intuitive thing for us to go through a really life-changing transformation and experience, and then want to support and help and hold the hands of others who are behind us on the journey and moving through. And I love this. But I also see the way that this exact same thinking and story holds people back. Because sometimes when you build a whole business, an entire company, your entire life around this old story of who you used to be, it's really hard to separate yourself from who you used to be. And you may be able to recognize that the external circumstances are what got you to where you are today, but there's still like a little part of you, that old identity, that old person, that version of you who was in the struggle and had to claw her way up and had to work her way through the mud and the mire and the stickiness and the pain and claw her way to where you are today. That version of you still lives somewhere in this new version of your life. And she's always kind of there. And this was a huge thing for me in my life a couple of years ago, particularly in early 2020. I was at a place where I had been through so much in my life, right? Like if we look at like the history of my life and like the things I've been through and the things I've overcome, it's exhaustive, right? Abuse, addiction, alcoholism, eating disorders. I had a child die. I had a parent die young. Like all of these things, right? Like I have been through it. I have seen some shit in my life. And everyone was always like, you're so strong. You're such an overcomer. You're so resilient. And I wore that like a badge of pride that was like, I can overcome anything. I've had all of these terrible things happen to me. I've been through all of these things, anxiety, depression, postpartum, panic disorder. Like I've been through so much, and like here I am standing strong, like poverty, like name it. And like I have seen it. I have been through it. And it was like, oh, but like, look, I'm still put together. I haven't gone insane yet. I'm like not even on medication anymore. Like, look at me. And so I took on that identity of like, I was an overcomer. I was a survivor. I was resilient. But that was so deeply ingrained in me that what I kept subconsciously doing to perpetuate that identity was I kept creating more situations in which I needed to overcome, more things which I needed to be resilient through, more situations that I needed to figure out how to survive. And that was kind of really exhausting, because it was like there was always another dumpster fire that I had to be the strong, resilient survivor to overcome, to put out. And so it was like having that identity was just no longer serving me, because it was actually keeping me really small. It was keeping me stuck in this person that was always in the struggle, but like, don't worry, I got it. I was made for the struggle. And I took pride in that. And I wore it like a badge of honor that I could get through anything. Right. And that like, it might be hard, but like I could do hard things, damn it. And I think there's so many of us who have had really traumatic lives, who have seen a lot of shit that take this on. And we don't realize the ways in which we're actually allowing that identity to self-sabotage our current lives and our current circumstances, because we're so stuck in the idea that like we are always in the struggle, but like we were born for the struggle and we are made for the struggle, and we are good at overcoming the struggle, that we keep creating more and more struggle. And sometimes it shows up in ways that are completely limiting to you, that just really put a cap on your life, which is what it was for me in 2020. In 2020, I just had a full cap on my life. I could not get out of the struggle for the life of me, because I was so stuck in the cycle of this identity that I was proud of, that I held so deeply and dearly, because you know what? That version of me, that identity had served me, because she was resilient and she was strong and she was an overcomer and she was a survivor, and she had gotten me through all of that deep and dark and devastating shit that I had to go through in my life. She had helped me to overcome addiction. She had helped me to recover from eating disorders. She had helped me to leave abusive relationships. She had helped me to survive, to move through grief, and to become stronger and better throughout the process. That it was like every bad thing that happened to me just like made me a better and better person, a stronger and stronger person with more lived experience. And so it was almost like I welcomed tragedy and hardship in my life, because I knew that it only gave me more purpose. It only gave me more perspective. And so I was just like an open vessel for receiving tough shit. And in 2020, I was fucking done. We had just hit the beginning of the pandemic. Everything was shifting. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I cannot hold all of this life and all of this trauma and like all of the healing and the work I've had to do it, and also hold like this collective shift. It was absolutely insane. And I came to a breaking point, and I decided I didn't want to be that girl anymore. I didn't want to be the one who was constantly overcoming things. I didn't want to be the person who was always in the struggle, no matter how fucking good I am at getting through the struggle. I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want it to be so hard. I was fucking sick of it. I was in my mid to late 30s at that point, and I was just over it. I was sick of it being hard, and I just wanted it to be better. I wanted to finally be able to enjoy my fucking life instead of constantly trying to figure out how to survive it. And so I did a very radical thing. And I decided to throw myself a funeral. And so I put on all black one day and I lit all of my big pillar candles with all of the saints and the ascended masters on them. And I grabbed my journal and I eulogized myself. And I spoke of myself, of this identity that I had as a survivor, as an overcomer, as a strong person who could make it through anything, who overcame the impossible and did it with grace and beauty and poise and came out stronger. I laid her to rest and I eulogized her and I thanked her. And I loved on her the way I would love on anyone who I knew who had impact on my life. And I let her know that while I deeply appreciated her, and while I had so much gratitude for how she had served me in my life and what a good friend to me she had been, it was time for her to go. And she was ready to die. And I let her go through this beautiful death release process that at that time it looked like a funeral. And I released it. And then I just sat in the void for weeks. I sat in a void of, okay, that version of me is gone, but who is the new version of me? And so a couple of weeks later, I was on vacation with my family, and it was our last night at the beach house I had rented. And I was in the hammock and I had music playing on my phone and a song came on. And when the song came on, I immediately knew I needed to baptize myself. And so I ran in the house and I threw on my bathing suit and I jumped down to the water and I set up my phone and I recorded a little couple-minute video of me making declarations of who I was becoming, who is the new version of me that I was stepping into. Now that this old identity was gone, who is the new me? And I ran into the lake and threw myself under the water and baptized myself and rose new. Later on that year, I went on to take that same process that I cultivated into beautiful community rituals into a program called Resurrection. And I've run this program a couple of times. It's one of my best-selling programs. It's one of the most popular, one of the most anticipated every year. Some of you have seen it in past years. I get emails all the time asking when the next round is going to be. And I'm excited to say that the next round is open now. But this year we're doing it a little bit different. Because this year we have put a little twist on it. We're not doing the funeral and the baptism anymore. We're actually diving into the story of Queen Esther, who was someone who had to leave her old identity behind, much the same. So there will definitely still be the release ritual, the releasing of old identities, old names, who we used to be. And then we're going to spend some time preparing ourselves the way that Esther had to prepare herself. Esther prepared herself for 12 months between when she had to leave her old identity as a Jewish girl in the village into stepping into preparation to become the queen of Persia. And so she spent a year in preparation to go before the king to be chosen as queen ultimately. And so we're going to spend some time in sacred ritual and preparation together over the course of 12 days, not 12 months. It's going to be a short program. Which I've crafted these really beautiful, easy to incorporate into your everyday, really just kind of putting some ritual and intentionality around things you're actually already doing for 12 days. And then we will have our queen's coronation. Because when you get stuck in the old identity, when you're constantly clinging to who it is you've been, you make it really hard to step into who it is that you are becoming. And so there comes a place and a time for us to say goodbye to who we used to be. We don't need to be that version of ourselves any longer. We don't need to be the strong ones. We don't need to be the overcomers. We don't need to be the resilient ones. We don't need to be the ones who get through all of the hard shit. We don't need to carry that with us any longer. And that doesn't mean that we're turning our backs on who we used to be. It doesn't mean that we're turning our backs on our stories or that we can't leverage the stories and where we came from anymore. You'll hear me all of the time talk about my addictions, talk about my abuse, talk about my husband's affair, talk about my son's death. You'll hear me talk about these things all the time because they're who I am. They're part of my story. But the difference is that like energetically, I have removed myself from that version of me and from those things. Those were things that happened in my life. Those are not things that are a definer of who I am today. They do not have any bearing. Now, do those lived experiences, have they inspired me? Have they taught me things? Do I have wisdom from them? Yes, but I get to choose who I am today, independent of those things. And that's where the shift becomes so important, because when we're able to release what happened to us from who we are, you free yourself up to become somebody brand new. You open up the gates to become who you were put here to be, because you weren't actually put here to be the person who's in the struggle, to be the person who's going through the hard shit, to be the person who has that name, whatever that name was. Maybe you can even think of names you've been called over the course of your life. Things that people have said about you. You're irresponsible, you're illogical, you're fat, you're ugly, you're a bitch, you're unlovable, you're unkind, right? Like, what are all of the things that, what are all of the names? What are all of the identities that have been given to you that you've taken on throughout your life? And what happens when we stop being that person, when we stop allowing those identities and those names and those things that happened to us, those things we did before, be our identity, and they just get to be things that happened, not things that define us, not things we carry around as a part of who we are, but just the things that happened in our lives, the things that we've been through. And when we can like disentangle our experience and our identity, that's when we get to step in to the truest form of our identity. And this year in Resurrection, She Rises a Queen, we are going to step in to our most expansive, sovereign energy as the queens of our lives. And I'm so excited for this year, not only to just have a little bit of a twist on the death and rebirth process and change, and it's going to be the same. There's still going to be that release process at the beginning, and there's still going to be that rebirth process at the end, but it's going to be a queen's coronation, and it's going to be really yummy and delicious. And I've got tons of surprises. That death process is still going to look really, really similar. It's just going to look a little bit different. I have some surprises for that too. But what I'm super excited for is the in-between time, that liminal space that in past years, we just kind of like sat in the nothingness. We just like existed in the void. And this year, I'm so excited to facilitate through these 12 rituals of preparing ourselves, of saying the past is gone. I am no longer who I was. And now I'm going to spend these sacred moments preparing myself, making this a holy space, decorating and adoring and cleaning and preparing my vessel to step in to the next phase of my life, to step up onto my throne, to claim my crown as the queen of my life and my business and my experience. And then to crown ourselves, to come into our coronation and allow the version of us that we are evolving into to drop in, to show up, to fully embody through these beautiful rituals. Ritual is just it has been such an important part of my journey to create these containers, these spaces for me to kind of like put like a line of demarcation, right? To put that line in the sand that says like, before this was one thing, and now I've gone through this ritual, I've created this space, and now moving forward, it is different. And it's such a powerful thing. And it's such a powerful thing when we did it in community. Esther did it partially in community, right? Those 12 months that she spent were with the other women who were in contention for who were contenders for becoming queen, where she was ultimately chosen. And so we're going to do it together in community. And so I'm so excited to announce this. If you want to learn about it, if you want to enroll right now, pre-sale pricing is open through the 18th. And then it's going to go to early bird, I think, through the 24th, and then through the 24th through the end of the month will be standard pricing. So get in now and you're going to save like $222 from the standard pricing. Get in early. There's multiple payment plans that shall make it really, really easy for you. I put the link in the website, kellymahalik.com/resurrection. Super easy. Go check it out. But I really think that whether you join this program or you don't join this program, it's so important that you extrapolate your experience and what you've been through in your past from who you are now and who you are going forward. And if you're consistently talking to the old version of yourself in your messaging, it's just way too easy to get stuck in that, because you're always talking about your pain. And here's the thing, like, the pain is not required anymore. The pain is not required to be able to access your power. The pain may have been the thing that allowed you to see your path and see your purpose. But now that you are here, now that you have learned that lesson and you have gathered the wisdom, you don't need to be stuck in the pain anymore. You don't have to keep bearing your cross over and over and over again. You don't have to carry that experience around with you like a monkey on your back, like constantly being like, see, look, I can prove that I know how to do this. I can prove I've been through this. I'm still right. You don't have to just enter into the next level of struggle with that thing, the next level of evolved experience of that thing. You get to say, and that chapter is closed, and I'm someone new now, and I've healed from that, and I've moved on fully from that, and I've embodied something new for myself. And that's going to still speak to your audience. It's still going to talk directly to who you're talking about, but you don't have to live in the pain, and you don't have to keep pretending that you're like still kind of there in order to get it. I've been to Hawaii. I am no longer in Hawaii. I am firmly planted in the state of Michigan at this moment. That doesn't mean anything less about my experience in Hawaii. It doesn't mean that I don't remember it. It doesn't mean that I didn't learn things there that I carry with me now, right? But I'm not there anymore. And I can still take all of the goodness and the value that I learned and that I experienced in that place. Maybe Hawaii is not the best example because that's not really like a hardship by any means to take a trip to, to Waikiki. But like the point is like, I'm not there anymore. And it's not going to make me any more relatable to someone who's wanting to like go to Hawaii and wants to know the lay of the land and the things they should do and the places they should go to eat. If I've been there and I know the things and I've like learned the geography and I've been to the restaurants and I have recommendations, it's not going to be any less valuable to someone who's wanting to go there that I'm currently in Michigan and not in Hawaii, right? And so I think it's really important that we do the work. And whether you want to come and do that with me in Resurrection, She Rises a Queen, which I highly recommend. Dozens of people have been through this program and every single one of them leaves with their lives changed. It is the most powerful program that I put out. It's unlike anything else I've seen or experienced in anyone else's spaces or containers. It's like very unique and very proprietary to me and my work. Whether you choose to do that, or whether you just choose to do something by yourself, watch the ways in which you're still identifying, because running your business from this place of still trying to be that person, still trying to identify, not really being willing to like let them go and let that chapter end, is going to keep you just so caught up in that identity that it's going to keep you from moving forward into what's next for you. And this will become the end of the road for you. This will be as far as you can go, as long as you're still clinging on to that old version of you. And so if you're feeling like you've kind of like hit a wall and you just can't get past it and you can't move forward, this is the time. This is the invitation. It's time to let go. It's time to release what is past, to let dead things die. Resurrection and this whole process, it's not about like going in and like murdering your ego and like trying to get rid of parts of you that you still need, that are still alive. This is about releasing the things that are already dead. It's deadheading the plants. It's amputating a gangrenous, limb. It is letting the things that are already dead die and releasing them with love and gratitude and appreciation for the ways that they served you, for the wisdom that they brought you, for the way that they formed you and made you who you are now. But you are so much more now than that. And you're stepping into new things. And in order to make space for that, you have to be willing to release. Right? We deadhead our bushes and our plants because when you take the dead things away, it allows what is left, what is alive, to become healthier, to become more fruitful, for new buds and branches to grow. And that's what resurrection is about. That's what this process is about. It's about deadheading our lives, deadheading our souls, deadheading who we are. So that way we have more space, we have more energy, we have more resources to growing new things and into who we are becoming. So I invite you, come to Resurrection. It promises to be as life-changing as ever. This round is going to be incredible. I have the most beautiful rituals planned for us. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask here in the comments. Slide into my DMs if you want to talk about it. Go to kellymahalik.com/resurrection to learn more. And I love you guys. And I hope this was helpful. And whether or not you choose to enroll or you choose not to, be aware of this. Be aware of the ways you're letting your past define who you are now, and decide that you don't have to be that anymore. Decide that you get to release that you get to carry the wisdom and the things that you learned with you forward, but that you don't have to be that girl any longer. You don't have to be the little girl who was hurt. You don't have to be the person who went through that thing. That doesn't have to be the core of your identity. It's just something that happened to you. It's something that you experienced. It was something that you had to go through to get here, but now you have to go through the process of detaching from that in order to move forward. I love you guys. I hope this was helpful. I can't wait to read your comments and to hear what you think. And I cannot wait to see some of you inside of Resurrection. Have an amazing rest of your Tuesday, and I'll see you back here next week for our weekly live stream.